In 1976, Rodney Rhineberger killed a very big deer in northern Minnesota. Those circumstances forced him to part with his trophy a few years later. The buck is still a strong part of his family's lore and tradition. We thought it might help to jog Rod's memory a bit with a little gift of our own.
Not quite as good as the real thing, but it isn't bad, especially for me. Seeing the head the way it is now, because that's kind of the way his head was looking when he came around that big old tree. I could feel the sun hitting me on the side of my face while I was looking at him. Bring back memories.
The North Woods of Beltrami County, Minnesota, with its deep forests and sparkling lakes, is the kind of place great memories are made.
Yeah, we're coming into an area that kind of reminds me a lot of where I was hunting when I got the deer. You're going down an old road like this, road that was made by loggers so they could get back into the woods. Yeah, these pines, all the evergreens, it's all the deer had to eat for years and years up here till the farmers started planting better crops. Now they're eating corn, they're eating beans, alfalfa. Everything evolves. More farmland, better animals.
Growing up in northern Minnesota, the Rhinebergers were no strangers to deer hunting.
I was raised in Minnesota. I've done most of my hunting there. Hunted with my dad for a few years until he quit hunting. Then I hunted with my grandfather. Then hunting with relatives, brothers, brother-in-laws, sisters. It's just a family tradition.
But nothing in the family's experience could have prepared them for this. A huge, non-typical, a classic 6x6 frame, sprouting an amazing number of non-typical points, huge drop tines on the right and the left. The deer would score 251 4/8, making it the third largest deer ever taken in Minnesota. And it is well within the top 100 deer ever taken. That is a pretty exclusive list, but Rhineberger initially took it in stride.
It didn't dawn on me what I had until I took the rack to a local taxidermist, and apparently he called somebody in that did the measuring of the rack, and it just kind of snowballed.
But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Before we start counting points and stretching tapes, Rhineberger still has to get the deer on the ground, and that is something that almost didn't happen.
I like to walk, so I wait till it's just about dawn before I'll start in. I had to walk a couple hundred yards to get where I wanted to be, kind of sitting so I could see two trails, and I was about 10-15 yards from where they intersected, heading down towards the water. Just sitting there, waiting, hoping that something good would happen. That's when I saw the doe come through and the buck was chasing her. I saw the rack come around the corner of a nice sized tree, and I just shot. And deer started sliding down this little hill right towards me, and it ended up 10-15 feet from where I was standing. None of that 200-300 yard shot or anything, probably 30 yards, that was it. I haven't told a whole lot of people. The ones I told laugh at me because I did fire a second shot at it because I thought it was running away when actually it was already dead, and it was sliding on its belly right down the hill towards me. I shot and I could see the bullet bounce off a tree, and the next thing I know, the deer's laying right there next to me. So then I realized that I had shot the second shot at a dead deer that was sliding down the hill.
Rhineberger knew he had a good rack, but just how good never really entered his mind.
The size of the rack didn't mean that much to me until I got it home and hung it up and looked at it, and then it was like, maybe this is something special. But to a kid who hunts deer, basically for meat, it didn't mean that much to me. Probably won't believe this. Got him hung up in the backyard, went back out hunting.
Well, Rhineberger may not have thought much of it, but other folks did. Rumors of a new Minnesota state record began making the rounds, and the onslaught began.
Apparently the story got around at the liquor store, and people were coming in the yard up until probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night to see the deer. I believe my mother said there was over 200 cars came in the driveway the next day to look at the deer. She said it was just non-stop cars pulling in, pulling out, pulling in.
It was a very big deal. Minnesota is a state that knows a thing or two about big deer, and this was ranked number 3. Its score sheet was memorialized on a pine plank, a souvenir Rodney treasures to this day. Not so much as a memory of a time gone by, but as a reminder of present-day traditions.
Well, it's going on 37, it'll be 38 years this fall since I harvested this deer, and we still get together and we talk about it. People ask me questions about it. It's something that's enduring. As my granddaughter grows up and all my other grandkids, if they want to go hunting, this will be part of the heritage. There's something about deer hunting that changes people. They get excited. You think about things. I'm sure I'm no different than anybody else. For years, the night before deer season, you bring up this mental image of this huge buck walking by your stand. Your energy, your juices are flowing, you're thinking about it all the time. That's what it does to people. You get excited about something, and then you shoot something like this, makes it real easy to get up the next day and go hunting, or the next year, 10 years, 37 years. I still wait for that opening morning of deer season so I can go.